Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next adventure in the Genelec Masterclass series. I'm Paul Stewart. Today's guest, this is just going to be so much fun, everybody. We have Sylvia Massy and her no-kill shelter vintage microphone museum. This is truly going to be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's bring on our guests. We have Chris Johnson, the curator.
Oh, hello.
And Sylvia there. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for having us. This is already exciting for me. We've been talking for the past couple of days, getting ready for this, and you have so many things going on all the time, and the microphone collection just keeps growing, doesn't it?
The microphone collection is constantly growing. Yes.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, we, how many mics came in the door
I
yesterday?
have 55 mics.
Yeah, we took in 55
I counted
more
them.
vintage mics yesterday.
But yeah, we've got this museum here. Can I show the people the museum?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm gonna go take the camera around on there.
Let's do it.
Well, it looks like Sylvia's gonna take the floating camera, so let me get that queued up. Nope, here she comes.
Can you see me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's some of the museum. Let's see.
So I'm not sure you can hear Sylvia, but she's showing off the shrine. No, she's showing off the ceiling of the museum. Oh, hi.
Hello.
So it may be hard to understand what's going on from that camera, but we're in Sylvia's mix studio. And so we have a large mixing room here. And then also the microphone museum is here. And so we have a large portion of the collection, maybe 500 plus mics and a lot of vintage audio gear as well.
And some speakers. We have a mixer.
And these microphones really bring us to the beginning of microphone technology.
Boy, it's really true that we have some of the oldest mics ever made in our collection here. You know, this just goes right back to the very beginning. We were just looking at this piece right here a while ago, and this is Sylvia, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a David Edward Hughes pencil microphone.
Yeah.
And so, if you look at this box, it's just a little wooden box, and then on the inside of it, we see a little carbon pencil. And this is one of the earliest microphones. And the way this works is that, this is basically a burnt stick inside. Sylvia always laughs at that one.
I do. It just trips me out.
Yeah.
But the idea here is that you run some electricity through either end of the carbon pencil. And then when you shout into it, the signal is attenuated by the carbon, which conducts electricity. And so it acts as a very crude microphone. So it seems a little weird, but the earliest microphones were basically burnt sticks with people yelling at them.
It was a mistake. That had to have been, right? That's what happened.
But nevertheless, this works. I think, have you powered this one up? Did you take this down to East West and power it up?
I did. I'm turning on another mic so I can talk directly. Does that work? Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Very well, too.
So this is a test mic.
This is a mic that just came in yesterday.
Yeah, it came in yesterday, but I'm going to use it to communicate. Luckily, it works. So that little wooden box is David Edward Hughes from 1878. You believe that? A microphone from 1878, and it works.
Yeah. And so we had a session at East West down in LA, was it a year ago? And then she brought this down with her, and they actually plugged it in and used it for something.
Vocals.
This is vocals?
Yeah. It was screaming vocals, so it was perfect. But that's not actually the first mic, the very, very, very first mic, right? Because it's this.
Oh, yes. Well, the first mics were liquid transmitters, which is this kind of mic.
Yeah.
This goes back to Alexander Graham Bell. And so I can explain this mic if you'd like to hear about it, Paul.
Would love to, absolutely.
All right. So what we have here, this mic would sit on a desk or something, and you would shout into it downward. And I'll hold it up to the camera so you can really see what's going on here. What would happen is there's a little metal rod that connects to a membrane at the bottom of this horn, and the little metal rod goes into a cup, and inside that cup would be an electrolytic. And it's basically like battery acid. It's something that attenuates the electrical flow through there. And so as you would speak into this cone, it would vibrate this cup and attenuate the signal. And this was the first crude microphone. And it barely worked, even on a good day, but it did work.
That's Alexander Graham Bell,
Yeah,
right?
This was invented by Alexander Graham Bell, and this represents the first microphone. It was called the liquid transmitter.
Mm.
Wow.
It was very impractical and didn't work very well, I guess. But the carbon was the next the next successful microphone
Yeah, the next
technology, I guess. And that was improved too, right? It started with that pencil that you saw, and then it was actually Hunnings. Hunnings was the inventor who took the hard stick, the carbon stick, and powderized it. So it's a granulated carbon. And the and look, we have a little sample of the granulated carbon, if you can see that. I mean, what they would do is put this granulated carbon in that into a little button, and then the membrane would how exactly does it work with the carbon?
Well, let's grab a carbon button and I'll show everybody.
Okay, I have one right here. Is this what you're talking about?
Oh, that's a carbon button. Paul, we're jumping ahead to a carbon button microphone here.
It's okay. We jump around.
And then this is the classic carbon button in a ring. And it's held up with springs, and that's for isolation, so the vibrations from the table don't go to the mic. But you can see there's the two wires connecting to it. And inside of here, like Sylvia was saying, is carbon powder. There's a membrane, a round disc that's made out of thin metal, and you can see that reflection in here. And then behind that is some carbon, a little carbon button, and it's just a little, kind of like you could dump this vial of carbon in there as a replacement and it would work.
Yeah, that's the powder.
That's the powder.
Wow.
And it's the same basic principle of what would happen. You speak, and the power of your voice vibrates that membrane, and then the membrane moves the carbon a little bit, and that carbon attenuates the signal going through it. And then
you have to have a little power going through
you
it,
have to
though.
have power going through it
Right.
in the case of a carbon mic. But then that's what captures your signal, turns it into electricity, and then it goes into a preamp, and then an amp, and out the speakers.
Wow.
Yeah, the carbons were incredibly successful mics all through the late 1800s, especially in the teens, because there was the great interest in amateur radio. So everyone had to have their crystal sets and their microphones and their headsets and everything. It was very popular in the teens and in the 20s to have your own radio set. And in the 30s too. But these carbon mics were made generally for that kind of amateur broadcasting. These types of mics were.
So this looks like a little more refined version of that first
This
one you brought
is
up.
yes.
Yeah.
This is the refined version of the granulated carbon, and then the granulated carbon microphones then became what we know today as your typical telephone. Well, it's not today's telephone. It's more like the telephone of 30 years ago. Your typical handset. And do I have one around here? Where's one? Do we have a phone? Just sitting here. I know. Where is it? Go grab a phone. Okay. All right. But yeah, these old telephones are super fun. And they use the same technology. They're using granulated carbon. I mean, it's worked so well. It still works. And it's reliable. So he's going to grab a regular telephone. What I like to do with these old telephones, when I find them in thrift stores, is I'll modify the handset so I can use it as a microphone in a session. I do that quite a bit. So anyway, that's what it is. It's just a basic carbon microphone. Here we go. Oh well, this is a fancy one. This is what they call a candlestick, and this has a carbon microphone in it, and that's basically the earliest microphones that the consumers would use would be these telephone type things. But you'd also just take away the earpiece, and you'd have just your dispatch mic for your taxis and everything too. So these were popular. Don't we just have a regular old telephone? I was just like, I know I got one in here somewhere. It seems like I got 10 of them, but maybe they're in the other room. Okay.
Yeah.
So Any
No, I was
questions
gonna say,
about carbon mics?
yeah, that is so amazing. I want to tell everybody that's watching right now that please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to jump in. This is just going to be the show of shows right here. We have so many things, so many different microphones and stuff. And I did want to ask that question, like, why microphones? Like, what started that? What started the quest?
Well, I've been producing for a while. I
Mm.
started out in San Francisco and moved to LA and did producing. I'm still producing and mixing. But along the way, it became important for me to collect mics, especially mics that other people didn't have, because I would go to a studio, they would have your the normal assortment of microphones for recording, but then the oddballs, they'd never have any good like radio sounding mics or just anything interesting. It all was very high quality, it seemed, but nothing just, that I could have fun with. So I started collecting the oddballs early. But it wasn't until Chris and I were asked to write a book on vintage microphones that we went nuts. And we started visiting museums. I went to manufacturers in Germany and in Chicago, and while I was in Chicago visiting Shure, Chris said, "Hey, there's a museum up the road. Why don't you rent a car, drive up there, and see what it's about?" And I drove up to Wisconsin and went to a fellow's private museum. His name is Bob Paquette, and this place blew my mind. Right, I called Chris right away and I said, "Hey, this is really special. They're trying to find a buyer for this collection eventually, because Bob passed on. He was an elderly gentleman. So I tried to help them find a proper collector to take over the museum. I could not, but Chris and I, after Chris saw the collection, Chris was like, "Oh, we're going to buy this museum somehow." So over the past 3 years, we've been paying it off slowly. We still got a big chunk to pay, but we're selling off parts of the collection. The non-microphone parts of the collection we're selling off. I've added my mics to the collection. Now we have maybe 2,500 mics, maybe, and we're still getting mics. There's several manufacturers missing out of this collection, a lot of Europeans. So we're trying to fill in those empty spots. And in fact, yesterday we had a shipment come in from Eastern Europe, and it was exciting. These guys, we were doing a test session, and these guys witnessed us opening up this box and getting all these mics and pulling them out one by one, and it's just so exciting.
That was incredible.
We'll show you a few of them
I think
today.
the best part of that was the look on your face when those boxes, when you were opening up and seeing the next microphone and getting more excited as each one, it was just like, your birthday or something, or Christmas or something.
I mean, right here, this is one of the mics from that collection yesterday. And this is a 1960s era Sennheiser MD421. No, not a 421, MD21. It's the smaller version that became the 421 later. This is metal. It's a nice quality microphone. Holy cow. Great for bass guitar, kick drum. I'm not sure for vocals. I'll try it, but you're listening to it on my voice right now, so it's good right for there. Speech, right?
Yeah.
Amazing, right? But there is a whole bunch. Can we show the floor over there? Can you show the floor with it? Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, a couple of Chris brought out some of the other ones that we got yesterday. Here, look at this one. Oh my God. These are so exciting. Look at that, beautiful. These are they're unusual Tesla mics, many of them. And Tesla is a company that was like a brand, like a Telefunken brand in Eastern Europe, Czechoslovakia. And so there's a whole selection of these wonderful mics. That's a crystal. I tested it. Yeah,
That
not
is, of course,
working.
somebody was
But
just asking you that question too.
what was that?
Some,
Does it work?
someone asked, "Thank you so much for doing this. Do you own any crystal mics?" And
Oh
boom.
yeah, we got lots of crystals. I'll be talking about that. But here's another one. Look at this one that came in yesterday. It's like an egg. It's another
Yeah.
Tesla. Look at that. These are 60s, 50s, 60s mics. Ah, oh, I can't wait. I haven't tried that one yet. I haven't tested that one. Let's see.
So,
What
but
else is
this
that?
is, and someone was asking about the museum, but I think we've sort of answered that question, like where things started for you unbeknownst to you, you were going to be curating a museum.
That's how it started. Yes, that's how it started, and it's fun to be a mic collector, especially because for me, I use the mics. So with a microphone museum, I can pull out a crazy mic from 1878 and have someone sing into it. you know, what a story that makes. I believe recording should be an adventure so that you have something in your mind that you'll never forget. And that is imprinted into the music, and the listener also gets the same feeling. So
Yeah.
I'm into that. Let's make it an adventure. Let's try some unusual microphones when we're recording, to see what we get.
I mean, that's what they were doing in the beginning.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So where were we? So we were talking about carbons, lots of carbon mics to talk about. But that was the earliest successful mic design. After that, oh wait, there's a few more granulated. I want to look at this just to show you how things progressed. This in Europe is a carbon mic. It has carbon granules underneath here, just in a flat kind of a flat sheet of carbon granules, and that's how it collects the sound. This is made of marble. It's
Wow.
actually manufactured by Marconi in London. They rebadge these all over the world. You'll find these ancient things. This is from the 20s.
This is a Yamabishi.
It's a Yamabishi, but it was built by, I'm almost sure it's built by Marconi.
You can see the Asian characters on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was rebadge Marconi, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and so that's a rebadge Marconi.
Yeah, that was a very popular mic, and you'll see them. Well, you won't see a lot of them, but you'll see some around still. So that was kind of the pinnacle of the high-end carbon. Carbons continued to be used, but not as a high-end microphone because so many better technologies came out in the 30s. And the 30s was a special time for microphones. There was a lot of new innovations in microphones. They wanted to get the quality of the sound to be better. Also, there was the idea of Victrola's recording to disc, recording to cylinder, radio broadcast. All these things were coming up. They wanted better quality mics. So the 30s saw the development of dynamic mics, condenser mics, crystal mics, all at the same time in the 30s.
And the film industry probably had a big play in that?
Yes, the film industry, in fact, I think was the catalyst behind the development of condenser microphones, which are high quality mics. Chris, would you mind explaining how a condenser mic works?
Well, it's just like a carbon.
Well, would you come over? Is it just like a carbon?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Hey, everybody, I'm back. So yeah, so condenser mic is a lot. I mean, it's the same basic principle where it collects your signal onto a metal diaphragm, and then it's just how it translate that into electricity is vastly improved. It's more electronic. Yeah, Sylvia can show them off.
This is a very early condenser.
Yeah, so we could show some really early condensers. This would be a great example. And then so this is a Columbia microphone. So one thing with these condenser microphones is this is the element right here, this part. And then this whole tube here contains a preamplifier, and it's a big tube preamplifier in this case. And of course, since it's Western Electric, this would be a Western Electric tube amplifier from the 1930s.
It's portable.
Yeah, it is kind of portable. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic there. But this is a giant, heavy microphone. This probably weighs about 20 pounds. You know, it's a big old heavy thing.
Haven't tried it. Haven't listened to it.
Yeah, this one it takes a bit of work to fire it up.
Plus, where are we going to get a connector for that?
We have those connectors.
Oh, we do have those.
And
Got the pin out, hopefully.
In this case, there's a bit of a design consideration that had to be made, which is in the case of a condenser mic, you really have to keep the preamp very close to the actual element itself. And so that's why this form factor is such. You would think you would just have the microphone and someone talking into it, and then the amplifier would be off stage or backstage, but that's just not technically possible. They have to be very close together. And so that's why all these mics have these old condenser mics have this kind of similar form factor. Sylvia's got a CMV3 there. That's a German Telefunken, a Neumann mic, really. And then you could see that one's vastly improved over the design of this one.
And I love the fact that this has a interchangeable capsules. So this is an Omni capsule. It's CM3, but there was the CM55s, the Lollipop M7s, and all kinds of different things that you could attach to these mics to get different recording effects for different jobs. And that was a new innovation in the 30s. Now, George Neumann, he did not invent the condenser mic. These are early and very popular mics, but he did not develop them. In fact, it was Western Electric.
Really?
Western Electric was the first. So, but I'll have to say, George Neumann, very important in the development of microphones to begin with. The carbon granule microphones that were built into those marble bases, that's a George Neumann invention. He actually invented that at another microphone company in the 30s while he was working for the other company. So they get the credit, but he, in fact, invented this beautiful marble style microphone. There's a Neumann. It's actually a Neumann. It says Marconi, but it's a Neumann.
Yeah. The marble that was probably a shield of some kind, or something to insulate the.
I'm not sure. This is something that I have to learn. There's so much to learn still, but it could be the stability, just the stability of the material. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this is the actual model of Rice microphone, carbon. Here, can you open that? It's a carbon microphone, German, and the guy in the laboratory who developed it is George Neumann, but it doesn't have his name on it.
Oh, no kidding! Look at that.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, see now, so this is the earlier marble microphone, same kind of thing, carbon, the granulated carbon. And in fact, if you shake it, you can actually see it moving around in there a little bit. But the marble body, and my understanding is that this was George Neumann's work in the lab at Rice Microphones. Isn't that cool?
Wow. And were those typically hung? Is that what that is? Like a suspended sort of setup that you would just dangle?
We have photos though. Don't you have photos of?
I do somewhere. And so, this one would hang. Mm-hmm. And then if you look at the photos that are contemporary when this mic was being used, a lot of times it would still hang in a carbon ring. And so this one is set up to kind of, a steel metal ring. And so this one actually has the hardware, so you could do that if you wanted to. Sorry to put the camera.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, so we condenser. Oh, so condensers. We're talking about condensers, and so you saw that big old amp, right?
Built
connected to the capsule. Well, as time went on in the late 40s, early 50s, the size of vacuum tubes was miniaturized, right? So all of a sudden you didn't need these giant condenser canisters, and you could fit everything into a much smaller and sleeker design. And this is one of my favorites this is late 50s, 60s. It's an Altec, the 150 body and interchangeable capsules on the top. This is a beautiful microphone. You can actually take it out of here, kind of. Yeah, right.
So with that a
This is the
tabletop or what was? Wow.
Well, that had a little stand, so you could
Oh,
have it in the middle of a table, and then with an Omni capsule, or you could have a cardioid capsule and directly, mic certain things like a probe. But yeah, this is extremely versatile, and there is a tube in here. So the miniaturized tubes reduce the size of these mics. And in fact, the later generation Altec condenser tube mic has a very small tube in it. This is the advancement of tube technology right before it went into solid state. But it gives you an idea of how the technology changes with microphones. The great thing is, as long as these tubes don't go bad that often, so a lot of these mics will still work. I haven't tested this one. Still need to do a little repair on that, but I imagine this would work no problem with the right power supply.
with the right power supply and how
Yeah.
fast or slowly you turn it up, right? I guess there's a procedure for each one, each
Oh
microphone.
my God. Yes, every mic has a procedure for warming up. The most delicate of the mics that I know, well, there's two very delicate mics, the ribbons and the crystals. And the ribbons are particularly delicate. And you don't ever want to, if you find an old ribbon mic, it's very exciting, and there's a good chance that it'll work. But if you plug it into a powered mic preamplifier, one that's sending out 48 volts, you'll wreck it. So you got to be very careful. Plug it into something that has no phantom power or a switchable phantom power if you're not sure. And then you're safe. You're going to at least be able to test it without damaging the mic. Let's look at some ribbons.
Let's do it.
What are the early ribbons, Mr. Johnson? Oh, the Siemens is an early ribbon. Oh, we got to talk about this. Okay. Okay. Well, the greatest ribbons, undeniably, the greatest
Oh,
ribbons are the RCA ribbons. And RCA made some very iconic designs. And can you grab a 44? Just a regular old 44? We'll take a listen to it too,
let's
so
do
you'll
that.
understand why they're so loved. The
So what was
RCA 44 is the mic that everyone recognizes from the 40s radio shows. Here it is, right? Oh,
that
look at
is
that.
the one.
Look at that. This is a gorgeous specimen from the Paquette collection. And yeah, this one is wired up too. I think we'll try it, right?
Beautiful.
But
Wow.
before we try it, I just wanted to show you that this museum has the original prototype for the 47. This is the one. 44, sorry, not the 47.
Yeah.
This is a 44 prototype from Harry Olson. He designed it at RCA. And so that became, and you can sell, this is made by hand.
It looks all grill.
Yeah, it's all grill, and it actually works too. And it's
Wow.
yeah, but that became this iconic production model. I'm gonna plug this in and see what it's like. I hope it works.
Someone just asked a question, what microphone are you most proud of? And I was thinking of that CBS mic or the one the prototype. My goodness.
Oh God, there's so many great mics. My favorite mic? The Round Sykes. Tardigrade's pretty cool too. All right, okay, hang on. I don't want to smash anything here. Okay. All right. Okay. So I got my CBS RCA 44 right here. I'm going to plug it in.
Sylvia, maybe you could move it over so it's in the shot. It's just
I
off to the
will
side.
do
There you
that.
go. Okay.
Here we go. So many microphones.
Let's just get you.
Hang on. Oh, there. That
Right,
that makes
there
it
we go.
easier, right? Move the camera, not the mic. All right, I'm gonna plug. Okay, wait a minute. I'm about to plug in this precious, rare RCA 44, and I'm just gonna check my mic pre over here to make sure there's no phantom power.
She has a little Focusrite mic preamp going today for this. And I think what she wants to do is confirm that no phantom power.
No phantom power. Okay, here we go. We're gonna plug it in. All right, there we go. And now I'm gonna turn down this mic. Turn up this one. Check, 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 check.
Wow.
Okay, that's the 44. It works, right?
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah. Isn't that gorgeous? Leave
You
this
should
one
just
on.
use that one for the rest of the
Okay,
show.
we'll
I
leave
mean,
it.
that is just gorgeous.
Great. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah. So ribbons. What else about the ribbons?
Someone was asking if you own an Amperit ribbon.
Oh, which,
Amperite.
and it, which kind of
I'll go grab some.
that you let me get them.
I don't know where the Amperites are. He knows where the Amperites are. But yes, we do have a little explanation of how the ribbon mic works. This is a big old magnet. And then the magnet, right between the magnet is this very thin corrugated aluminum ribbon. And that's suspended between that magnet. And the variations of the magnetic field due to the velocity of sound hitting the ribbon is what is translated into audio. Anyway, this guy explains it much better. But anyway,
You did a good job there. I got it.
Okay. Here's an Amperite.
Oh,
Isn't it just the most handsome, sturdy, beautiful American ribbon mic? Gorgeous.
that is gorgeous. So would that be earlier than your CBS mic there?
I think that the Amperites came after the 44 and the
Oh, okay.
yeah. I think they were later, and these were boutique. I think in their day, it was made actually. Amperite was. Weren't they making concrete or something? It was
No, Amperite was a electronic instrument manufacturer.
Oh, okay.
And
I
then
see.
based out of East Coast. And then microphones were really like the smallest part of their product line, and so they only made like maybe half a dozen models. However, they had a contract to sell microphones to IBM, which were rebadged as IBM microphones. And so,
Wow.
a lot of Amperites. I can grab that one.
Yeah, you can see the
here it is.
IBM.
You'll see a microphone with this form factor.
Oh yeah, look at this Amperite. Look at that. That's a ribbon.
And then there's also a desk stand they manufactured that fits on the bottom, obviously. And so if you saw an old mic like that in kind of battleship gray with an IBM badge on it,
that's an Amperite.
That's your old Amperite.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
What do you think that would have been used for right there?
Speech.
Yeah, it's just speeches or like corporate in the corporate world. Amperite, I mean, IBM was obviously selling into corporate. So
right. Yeah, these would be tabletop, probably speech mics. Dispatch, maybe. Nice.
But the
what other ribbons we got? Any more ribbons? Or we got crystals. I want to talk about crystals. Okay. So let me see. Let me think about the ribbons, though. Is there anything? Ribbons became more and more popular, yet more popular in the States than in Europe. Europe went for more of the condenser, the high-end condenser microphones, whereas the U.S. really went all in on the ribbons, and that's why we find so many of these beautiful 44s still around. But there was another type of mic developed in the 30s by a father and son team. They were independently wealthy. They'd made their money off of arc light technology, actually, in the 1800s. But together they developed piezoelectricity, the technology in the 30s, and created microphones using electricity, using crystals, in fact. And Chris is the man to really explain it. But these crystals, basically, like we were talking about, you yell at a burnt stick, and then you know that's a microphone. Well, now we're looking at yelling at a rock, because these microphones were made from very thin wafers of a crystal, a rock crystal. No, excuse me. This is a Rochelle salt crystal in a rock form, and you can split it, and actually it does split into wafers. And then how does that then translate to audio there, Johnson? He's really good at explaining this. I got to find that other piece of crystal. I lost that crystal. Here it is. Okay.
Hey, so you sit right there.
Okay, I'm going to sit here. Okay, you want this?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hey, so I'm just a little off camera here, but the answer is that crystals, when you yell at them or you vibrate them with your voice, then they actually create a little bit of electricity on their own.
Piezoelectric charge.
Yeah, that's piezoelectric. And so that's what charges the mic. So it's a lot like a dynamic mic, whereas it creates its own signal. You don't have to apply electricity to it and make it work.
There is one problem with the crystals, is that they're very delicate, and ultimately they deteriorate.
Yeah, these crystals are very susceptible to humidity, and so over time they just deteriorate. And so the early manufacturers didn't realize that they were making these microphones, and then they had a short shelf life.
So they did have a short shelf life, but they were inexpensive to make, and easy for consumers to use for their amateur.
Yeah. And so the thing with the crystals was better sound quality than carbon in some ways, and the manufacturers seem to really get behind it. And so some of the form factors for these microphones are great, like this brush, which was a crystal mic. They just did a little kind of a globe windscreen.
Yeah, there's some really unusual and fun crystal microphone designs.
So
They're just
what year do you think that those? Oh wow, look at that!
Look at that. Okay.
These were popping out in the 30s and 40s.
They're starting in the 30s, but 40s, late 40s.
Well done by the 40s.
Yeah, they were pretty well. No, that's not entirely true, actually. I mean, look at these unusual designs. These are all crystals. There was a better material developed later called ceramic, which has the same properties, piezoelectric properties, as the crystal, does not deteriorate so quickly. So the ceramic mics are like a crystal, but a little more robust. I have a few more crystals to show. This is a common crystal that you'll see. This is made by Shure, a very popular handheld mic. Came with tape recorders. It's a crystal. Those actually still sound pretty good. So if you know, this is the most popular crystal, and still an important mic today. It's the Astatic JT20, and a very common harp mic, right? The Bullet, right? And this is a crystal, traditionally a crystal mic. They're still making these mics today because they have a sound and they do a thing. So crystal mics are still made today. However, they're better if they're ceramic, and they don't last that long. So like our big haul yesterday from the Czech Republic, I tested all those mics. I've been testing them today, and pretty much all the dynamics work, the dynamic mics, which we're going to talk about next. But the crystals, no, just a couple very weak signal, but yeah.
You can put your own crystal in there? Will you get to task at repair and restoring?
We will. Yeah, we'll try to find a suitable replacement without damaging the value. And it may be maybe that these mics will just be, shelf display items because they're gorgeous. I'd rather look at it than actually use it. I can't imagine that it's, sounds that great, but
Well, the
they're cool.
education you get from them. I think that's the coolest thing. I mean, we're all getting an education right now, and I wish I mean, we've got a slew of questions that have come in, and
Oh, good.
but
Let's talk
but it's
about
been
let's do
going,
some
and
questions.
I didn't want to break or stop anything. But you were going to get onto dynamic mics next.
Yes.
Uh, someone asked this question. I thought you may have touched on this, but why did the U.S. go for ribbon mics? What do you think that the versus Europe, where there was still more going on the tube end?
I'm not sure, but the high quality German mics were mostly condensers. And everyone just gravitated towards them. The ribbons, I'm not sure, except that RCA had these fantastic, very popular brands, and for broadcasting and for film, that's what
And they sound so good. I mean, you just can't deny that when you hear that sound.
Yeah, I guess you're listening to it right now. Please comment, Johnson.
Hey, Paul, one of the things about the ribbon microphones is that this is much like a dynamic mic where this doesn't have to be powered. And so you just plug that into an amplifier and it'll work.
Ah, that's right.
And then keep in mind, for a condenser mic, it has to be plugged in for it to work. The element of a condenser, the element of a condenser is vibrating when you speak, but if that mic isn't plugged in, it's not delivering any signal. And so it's just from a engineering standpoint, just the simplicity of a ribbon compared to the condensers is pretty big. And then I suspect that explains the popularity. The other thing with the ribbons is that they're beautiful for a speech in that they accentuate the kind of the bottom end of your voice, which translates very well into radio. And I think a condenser mic is going to give you a more true kind of overall sound, but hyping stuff for radio, there's nothing wrong with that. You listen to podcasts today and you can hear like they're using more modern mics like an RE20 or something. And then they're always hyped the bottom end of it.
Oh yeah, right.
And so I think that might explain some of it. Also, RCA, since they were making all the equipment at that point for American broadcast, I think that's just what they were making.
Oh yeah, I guess that if you bought the broadcast equipment, the transmitters and all that.
Yeah, if you're buying everything else,
you're going to get their mics too.
You're going to get the whole kit from RCA.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably what was going on. Whoops.
Oh boy.
Sylvia's throwing mics around.
Yeah, say goodbye to that, Crystal.
So you had showed me a picture of Bob yesterday. I think it was Bob Paquette.
Bob Paquette.
Yeah, will you show? Here, let me move some of
this
the stuff. Please do.
Keep talking.
Yeah, show some photos that you have collected there. They're really good. Bob Paquette was the original owner of he's the collector of the mic.
Yeah, Bob
museum.
had built a Paquette mic museum in Milwaukee, and then he's a very interesting character. I never met Bob myself personally. Sylvia met him when she was alive.
What?
When he was alive.
When he was still alive. I'm still.
Get away from me. And then Bob spent over 50 years collecting microphones, and it was his true passion. And then he ultimately had a very successful sound company, and he had plenty of money. And so he just spent most of his time collecting mics. And indeed, he, amassed, the world's greatest microphone collection. And he himself was apparently just an absolute treasure trove. He knew everything about all the mics. And, it's just quite an epic story that this guy, kind of working in obscurity, he didn't promote what he did at all. He would let people into the museum, but it was kind of arduous to get in. You had to call the family and make an appointment at a certain time, and it's just not the easiest thing to get in there. And so, there's a lot of great microphone collectors out there and a lot of great collections, but Bob was absolutely the king. He was the all-time greatest microphone collector, built the all-time greatest collection. And there's so much to this collection that is very important to us. One of the things for me is preserving this collection. When we bought it. It wasn't so much about who we're going to sell it and make money. It had nothing to do with that. In fact, it was, how do we take this important historical legacy and carry it forward, add on to it and carry it forward? And that's what we're doing now, is trying to figure out how to ultimately, at some point in the future, how to get this into somebody's hands so it can stay as a single collection. But one of the things you don't see in any of these photos that's very important is the file cabinets. And so I have 5 file cabinets in the back of this building that are Bob's 50 years worth of work researching microphones. And it's essentially everything. This is the kind of library of our Alexandria for microphones. All the original, everything he could find about microphones he saved. And so we have a lot of the original documents going back to the 20s and beyond of all these microphones that he collected. So this is a very, very important collection, as I keep saying. And so,
you can't stop. There's so much to look at, and I see the telephones down in the left side.
Oh yeah, and then that's the one thing, if you look around the room here, you know, we have hundreds and hundreds of microphones in here, and some of the most eye-popping examples are in this room that we're in now. But you don't see that. You walk through 2 doors back there, and then there's another 1,000 microphones on shelves, and then we have literally like full cabinets filled with microphone boxes that are just not on display right now.
Plus all the production mics, which are actually,
yeah,
you know, not part of the museum necessarily, but you know, all my 421s and 57s and all that.
Yeah, so it was an interesting story getting these microphones. You know, Sylvia went out there and met Bob in person, but then you know, I went back out there after Bob had passed away and took a look at this thing, and you know, just decided right then and there, you know, we pretty much have to have this. And so I made a deal with the family, and what was most important to them was finding someone who would preserve the collection, someone who just wasn't in it trying to buy it and then flip it for money, as most everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
And so there I am standing in the museum. And then basically I went out there, I spent a month in Milwaukee and emptied that all out. There's the museum after it's emptied. I packed the entire thing up into all these boxes, just truckloads of boxes, drove them back to the West Coast here through a huge snowstorm.
White knuckle all the way.
Across Wyoming in a snowstorm was white knuckle. I actually got stopped for days just in a hotel because the road was closed.
Wow.
And then that coincided with back here on the West Coast, I was building Sylvia's new room. And so you can see those shelves still under construction. And then ultimately those got filled up, and that's the collection as we have it now. And this section is what I call the shrine. It's Sylvia's microphone shrine. So yeah, it's it was quite a story getting all these microphones together, getting this museum, you know, and like Sylvia said, we started by having a contractor write a book, and we were ready to fulfill that without owning this collection. And it turned out to be a very difficult project to get access to these microphones. And then I got to tell you, buying all of them really helps write the book, because we can just pick them up and look at them. And then getting all the paperwork that came with them, all the historical records, was a great boost as well. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Oh, I see these questions on the wall, you know.
Yeah.
People are asking, like, do you have a tomato can microphone in your collection?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I think we have.
Okay. I was going to ask, I was saving that one, but since you said it.
I'll grab it.
She's running around now. And
while she's getting it, someone asked about Motorola. I would imagine you must have.
Yes. We have a lot of Motorola microphones.
Motorola, some Moon Motorola too.
Oh yeah,
from
we have
the Lunar. Lunar.
We have a microphone from the Lunar Lander. Motorola. Well, here's the tomato can microphone that someone asked about. This is one example, and this is actually a later example where it's a little more refined. We have some of the.
We have the very, very earliest.
These
are like some of the earliest mics in broadcasting. Like this would have been the mic used in that first radio station.
Yeah, those are all carbon microphones, and then originally they put them in the end of a can to try and isolate the sound, isolate the room noise, and then concentrate the sound on it. Yeah, there's a very early example.
Oh, wow.
You can see that.
Yeah.
Suspended.
Yeah, and those ones generally hung, and it was they call it a sugar can because they would have used what, microphones weren't invented yet, and so nobody really knew what they were supposed to look like. And so for the earliest ones, those sugar cans, they used an actual can and put a carbon element microphone in it.
Yeah, tomato can.
Tomato can.
Tomato can. Someone was asking if this will be saved. Absolutely, folks. You will see this in part of from our website to watch from the Masterclass series. So the Genelec Masterclass. So that's what you'll be looking for under our events page.
How are we doing for time? Do we have time to talk about the dynamics?
Oh, of course. No, we're saving that for right now.
Okay. Dynamics. If I run over there, can I point out the very first dynamic, the round sights?
Sure, let me do it.
Are you okay? You okay?
So you're gonna have to switch.
Okay.
We're gonna switch camera.
Okay, we're gonna switch camera. Hang on.
And so
There we go. Bing bong.
you click that button, and I'll.
All right.
Here.
Okay, I'm gonna switch chairs. This is fun. You know, we
it's
live for this
amazing.
stuff. We live
Yeah.
for it. Really. Okay,
You're in it all day, every day. The things that you must be learning every day about this
Oh
stuff.
my God. Here, there's Chris. And right in the middle of the screen, you can see that is the very first dynamic mic. It's a round Sykes made by Marconi in the late 20s. And there were a few of these made. There was several of them made, but very heavy, very awkward to use. The Kings used them. But the development of this dynamic mic technology moved quickly. And let me go back to our other camera. Hello. So this technology was improved very quickly. Western Electric liked this the technology because, again, like Chris was saying, you don't have to have any power connected to it for it to work. It generates its own signal. So Western Electric went about making this an easier microphone to use, and they came up with this design. This is a Western Electric 618A, and this is the very first successful dynamic microphone design. Yeah. And you'll see these all over the place. Do you have photos of this one?
Sure, jump.
Okay, I'm gonna move.
Sorry, we're jumping around so much, Paul.
It's fine.
Oh no, that's all right. It's just so fascinating anyway. And those dynamic mics that you were mentioning for the King, I think you remember showing me a picture. Wasn't there something that they were housed in, or?
Yes, we might have a photo of them.
Just like scrolling through photos right now to see if I can show you a picture of that 618.
By the way, folks have been asking some great questions, and please continue to ask questions. Someone was asking the oldest microphone you have, and I have a feeling it's that carbon one that you showed me earlier.
Yeah.
This one right here, this would be one of the earliest microphones. It's hard to date this, like I said, but we suspect this is from the 1870s, late 1870s,
and
1880s.
This is actually the older design. But
yeah, that's an older design.
This is a remake.
This is like a scientific reproduction of the original Alexander Graham Bell. So the original of this would have been made in the 1870s. I don't know when this reproduction was made.
Probably pretty old.
Yeah. And so if you were looking for a picture of Captain Round, and this was this fella right here, and then he was the one who invented the dynamic microphone. For sure, that fellow. And let's see. We've got a picture of it, and that's the mic I was showing on the shelf. That's the original dynamic, and that thing is heavy, heavy, heavy. I think it weighs 23 pounds, just the mic itself. And it's the same as any other dynamic mic, where it's a magnet and a lot of wire, spool of wire wrapped around it. It's just so enormous. In this case, it's before miniaturization. So that.
Yeah.
Don't you? Here's the King's mic.
And that's a picture of Sylvia. She was over in Maida Vale in London, across from Abbey Road. And then that is the actual King's mic right there. So that would have been used by, was it Edward V, I think?
No. It was the fifth, George the Fifth.
George V.
And also this was at Hayes.
Oh,
Actually,
wasn't it?
this is this is the archive for EMI.
Oh, wrong building.
Yeah.
But that you can see the filigreed silver cover over it, and it's just these are pieces of art. That's just a beautiful microphone.
That's a pop screen,
Yeah.
pop filter.
And then you can see. I think that's George V talking in it.
There he is.
Yeah, and that has a very exaggerated windscreen over it because he's outdoor. These were very sensitive mics when they were first used for a live broadcast. The listeners would comment. One of the first broadcasts using this mic was outdoors, and the listeners commented that they could hear the birds
and the flies.
Yeah, and the flies chirp. The birds chirping and the flies buzzing in the broadcast, which was phenomenal for the time. Keep in mind, this is about 100 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah. It's pretty,
What would you use it for today?
Well, yeah, exactly. We haven't plugged that one in, although it's all wired up and it should be fully working. We just haven't gotten to it yet. And so hopefully we can bust out that round Sykes, put it out on the patio 100 years later and give it a try. see if you guys
see if we can hear the birds.
Then Sylvia was talking about that 618 microphone. And then here's the picture of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
FDR.
FDR. And so, and then you can see that's the same mic.
Yeah, there it is. You can see that same mic right there.
Yeah, and that's the mic she was just, that's where she left off.
The 618. So this became the standard for broadcast. Is easy, presidents would talk into it easily. But the Western Electric made an improvement on the design and came up with this. Now this was the very, very popular ball and biscuit mic of the 30s. It's a Western Electric 630A. It came branded with STC. There's several other makes that put their brand on the Western Electric design. But you'll find these around, and honestly, they're great mics. Still, this is a dynamic mic from the 30s. I just used one of these on a session the other day. What was it? Here, let me see. Where was I? In Mexico? I think I took it to Mexico.
You were in Mexico.
Yes. So in Mexico, I brought the 630, the 630 ball and biscuit. Here's the ball. Here's the biscuit. And I put it on a guitar cabinet, and it sounded great.
Wow.
I mean, it's a dynamic, right? And so I just put it right up against the guitar cabinet, and I put a SM57 next to it, and I blended those two signals. Typically I would use a 421. Sennheiser is another dynamic mic, a modern dynamic mic. But I use this vintage in place of the Sennheiser 421, and I loved it. So I'm going to be using it again. Ball and biscuit, they're still available. You can find them for sale online.
Wow. Hey, someone was asking if you had a Turner 88G single conductor mic.
Turner 88G.
No, now I have to go dig out some Turners, apparently.
There you have it, folks.
We got lots of Turners. The funny thing about Turner is that it was a family in Minnesota. Was it Minnesota? They had a mortuary. They had a mortuary service. This is true. Turner had microphones. They developed microphones so that they could use them during the services for the dearly departed, right? They would have a PA set up in the parlor as they were having services, and so the head guy, the boss, decided he really wanted to have special microphones for this job. So they started making a whole line of fantastic microphones, Turners, and they made them for years, and they were very popular. Some very popular brands or models. Chris is going to bring a couple in here now. I'm not familiar with what was the 55 or the 88? You said
the 88G, yeah.
I probably will know it in a minute when I see it. But you got any? Is that it?
Yeah, it's a clone of the.
Oh, that's why. Okay, so see, this is a clone of the 618.
You know.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
Could
And then
see.
there's the Turners, that's right, the 88 and the 99. They're all kind of clones. There are many clones. What else did I want to talk about these dynamics? Okay, hang on. I had a couple more dynamic things I wanted to show you. And yes. Well, I have it right here. So dynamics, and I love leading, ending a discussion talking about dynamics, because dynamics are just the mics that we love.
The 57.
Yeah, it was my 57,
That's funny because someone asked earlier, and I didn't feel it was the right time to ask, but they were asking about that, putting the 57 in a tube. Where was that? It was earlier, if I could vote. When did you start inserting SM57 into hoses? That's the question.
Boy, you could go wrong with the answer on that one. No, I do love the 57 because and when you're experimenting with hoses and such, you want to use a mic that can take it. That if it gets wrecked and destroyed, well, you're not out a lot of money. It was the 57 on the Tool record, the Undertow record, that I had pointed at a piano on the soundboard on the back of the piano when we shot it with a shotgun. And we did destroy the 57, which is unusual because they typically just last forever. But we did when you shoot it with a shotgun, it will stop working.
There you go, folks.
Yeah. Anyway, if anyone wonders what is my favorite mic, probably this. Even
57.
though, as a producer, this is what I would say. As an engineer, this is my favorite. But as a collector, there's no answer. There's no possible answer. They're all fantastic. What's your favorite one, Chris? He's going to grab something. I bet you it's going to be a Remler. Remler? Oh, God, there's so many. We could go on and on about this because there's so many mics and each of them have a particular little story. And that's what we've been working on when we're writing this book, that, the book that they said that it can be written. They might be right. No, we're going to finish it, but it is taking a long time because there is so much. And here, this one. Here's your favorite mic. Is this your favorite mic?
Yeah, why don't you show it off?
Okay, I'm going to hold it.
Wow.
Talk about it. You talk about it, Shivy.
So what we have here is the first condenser microphone. And this is manufactured by Western Electric. And this is the 20s. And so you can see up here is the element for it. And there's the shiny, metal element. And then you can see the wires coming down. And then there's the wooden box right here. And as I'm fond of saying, you can't consider a microphone vintage unless it's made out of wood. So this is a vintage mic. And then we'll open this up right here. Oops, got to turn it the right way. And what's inside the box is the $1 million question. And then the question is a lot of electronics and some really cool tubes. And you'll see right here, is the so-called tennis ball style of vacuum tube. And that means that it's round like a tennis ball. And you can see the elements inside there. And then this is the actual battery for the microphone right here. This one would have worked off a battery. And so this is just a very special mic to me because ultimately the condenser mics kind of took over as the highest quality mics. And then it's great to see one that was handmade. And even though this was sold into production, it was still like it was such a hot item that they just left it in a wooden box, like they didn't take the time. And you can see this one was evidence this really was in production, where that number 7 on the bottom. This mic was ultimately meant to be hung upside down on stage over the singer or actor. So,
Wow. Yeah, because
so
the number 7 is
Yeah.
written
And there's
there.
actual photos, not of the number 7, but of a similar mic on a soundstage during the filming of a movie
Wow.
in the
And
30s.
does that one does work?
we haven't plugged it in, but yes, we know it works.
We know it works. Yeah, Bob, he didn't show me it working, but he did describe how it does work, and they've tested it. That one.
And
Yeah.
I want to show a slide.
Oh God, yes. Show this way. He's got something else to show you. Here, I'm going to get it.
Okay.
I'm going to jump in. It's going to take me a minute to find this picture, but I'll find it. Oh, let's see.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, where's the dog?
Dog is sleeping today.
Waking her up.
Oh boy, I've got all these great photos here. Hang on a second, Paul. I'm just looking.
Yeah,
for
no
this.
worries. But people have been asking a lot of questions about different kinds of microphones. Ones I'm sure you have. Bayer M81. I saw someone asked about that. Stedman.
Stedman, we have no Stedman.
No Stedmans.
Who knew?
She does
Who
have a
knew,
stinky-
right?
She has a stinky dog over here, though.
Ooh,
That dog just woke up.
Smell her.
She used to like me. So actually, I'm going
Oh.
to show you a quick picture.
Oh,
I just showed you that
Some
early
photos.
condenser mic, and there's a picture of President
Calvin
Calvin
Coolidge.
Coolidge with that exact microphone.
Well, is it that exact microphone? It's
Not
not
that
number
exact
7.
one, but excuse me, that's not number 7, but
Okay.
that same model
Yeah.
microphone. So that's pretty interesting. And then I'm just looking for the right
Right.
picture.
Oh, there
Here
it is. There it is.
So here's a cool picture, and this is from 1932,
Oh,
and it's a movie set. You can see that, and you see the giant microphone hanging down, very elaborate, big canister. And that microphone is really tough to identify. We would have no idea what that microphone is, except we have one.
Yeah.
wow.
Look at that. I think that is actually the mic.
I'm pretty sure it's the mic. It may be.
Yeah.
So for this mic, this doesn't have a model number because, it was so early in the history of mics that it was only used for a brief period of time, maybe only weeks or months before something better came along or a more stable version came along. So
Isn't that cool?
this is definitely one of my favorites, and I won't open it up today, but we have opened it up, and this has all the original tubes and electronics in it as well. So I like this one. I think it's one of my favorites, mostly because we have this picture and we can reference it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of that movie. I saw it looked familiar.
Do you know the movie? Boy, wouldn't it be great to be able to identify it?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another fun thing that we're doing in the book is we're collecting mics in the wild. So when we see a movie and there's a microphone in the movie, we'll make a note of it and like, oh, or we'll take a screenshot. Discovering the mics in the wild, and sometimes it's surprising the mics that you'll see on some of these old films.
Oh yeah,
It's amazing what I've discovered so far from this masterclass is just how the technology just was flowing in so many different directions and so quickly.
And it was the 30s. And you got to think of the time, it's the Great Depression. Yet there was all this technology flying around and people were just discovering radio. It was a very exciting time, I can imagine.
yeah, absolutely. And you think of what happened when the internet came out. How suddenly, hey, Paul, here now suddenly it wasn't possible before, but now you're hosting your own show. And
Right.
this is what was happening
Yeah,
with radio in the
20s.
1920s. And
Yeah.
so this topic
Yeah.
was very hot and it was changing very quickly.
Yeah, everyone
So-
wants their little podcast microphone now. It's just like the 30s and everyone grabbing their little crystals and
Yeah.
carbons,
You would imagine
You know-
somebody came out with a better mic and then some popular broadcaster used it and then
Yeah,
everybody
everybody had to have
raced
it.
for that microphone.
Yeah, it's just a fascinating thing. And I was even like, because I said it was yesterday, I was like, geez, I think it's hard for anybody to throw away a microphone, right? That's like something you just don't do, right? You have to have them. And like, I
Yeah.
even found this in my basement, just some old thing.
Right.
I couldn't throw it out. I had to hold on to it,
Oh, you'll be able to use it someday. There's no doubt.
right? So the book that you're working on for this is like an ongoing journey. Where do you
Well,
say I've got it?
the deadline comes right up about what, 12 months ago. So
Oh no, 24 months ago.
yeah, the deadline's coming right up 24 months ago. So we're gonna be done soon. It's
Yeah.
when we first started, a good friend of ours is very familiar with used gear and used microphones, Dan
Alexander.
And then we told him, hey, we're going to write this book. And he just told us, it can't be done. You can't write. No one can write this book. And
we're like, yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
And here we are years later, and we still haven't written it.
I still haven't finished it.
Well, it's definitely in progress, and a lot of it has been written.
Well, it's been written, but
Yeah.
one of the struggles we face is that it's such a vast topic that it's really more than one book. And so I think we'll end up writing several books about this aimed at different audiences.
But the first book will be concentrating on 600 mics.
600,
600, and have photos and descriptions and stories from these mics. It's going to be a great book. Wait, because we still got a little time to work on it. Buying a microphone museum changed our schedule.
Yeah. I think it changes the whole, it can't be done. It not only can it be done, it needs to be done, because there's just so much information that could get lost. I mean, the fact that you found that museum, that you were able to find that initial collection.
Well, I thought I knew a lot about microphones, but man, I had to start over.
That's been a recurring theme in this project, is thinking we know something about microphones and then getting continuously reschooled that we don't know anything.
Yeah.
It's such a vast topic, and that's one of the real exciting points of it, is to be able, hopefully once and for all, really authoritatively say, here's the whole story of these things, and here's all the microphones and all the pictures and all the assets to go with it.
And have fun with it too. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be a dry subject. It doesn't have to be. Mics are exciting, right?
Totally, absolutely. And just to hear the differences and knowing, like, the marble box, the crystal microphone in a marble box. I mean, it's just fascinating stuff. You guys have
just the history of it. Some of these things. For me, it's like you see it. There's an old microphone like this. This is a Edison Bell.
Edison right on it.
Yeah, that's Edison Bell slack diaphragm microphone. This technology, slack diaphragm, did not catch on, but it's fascinating just to hold this. But then you open it up, and like, what's inside here? What's this piece of paper?
Wow, can you put? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
There's the original. This is what was sold with this microphone. And this is a 100-year-old document that's been sitting in this case the whole time.
Wow.
And to me, this is truly priceless. This is something that's just one of a kind. It's historically very important, and it's just cool.
So there's a million questions, and I'd like to answer.
Would you get in there?
Well, someone was asking about Atmos, because I wanted to just talk, this room, the studio.
We're in an Atmos room.
We're in an Atmos room, and it's outrageously great. This mix rig here, between the vintage gear and the modern gear, pretty much this is the ultimate studio. And the monitoring, and I'll grab this camera so I can show you how I've got the monitoring set up for Atmos. All right, I'll stand up here, and then you can see my main monitors here, left and right, and the center. They are Genelec 8351Bs with the W371 woofer stands underneath. And this makes all the difference for my stereo mixes. Oh my God. Anyway, that's for stereo. But the center, then we have sides. You can see here's a side here. And then up in the back is the wide, all the way out. And in the back of the room, where Chris is, we have a pair of 8351As. And above, what do we have? Can you see them? We have four 8341s suspended. Can't really see it that well, but anyway, there you go. So the question was GLM with Atmos. And you know what? I don't know how anyone could do it without the GLM, because there's so many monitors, and the easy thing is you just plug in the GLM and pretty much push the button, and it calibrates the whole thing, and it adjusts for the shape of the room. This is an unusual room. My whole mix rig is at an angle, but the monitoring is perfect, and I believe it's the GLM. Just push the button, it automatically sees what's going on and adjusts. Anyway, yes, the GLM is absolutely essential.
Yeah, and to say the least, I mean, especially like you said, because of the geometry, the position you are in
Yeah.
the room,
Yeah.
and all of the things that you have in the visual stimulations of all that vintage gear in there. It's going to have its effect too, in some degree.
This is true. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the fusion of all these shelves and it's an unusual room. The great thing also about the GLM is that as I travel, and I do travel for work a lot, I'll go to a studio in London or in Scandinavia or Germany, and I just request my Genelec speakers, from a local vendor. So I'll ask for my 8351s. These are the monitors I know, and they'll deliver them, push the button, GLM for that room, wherever I'm at. It
Yeah.
automatically adjusts to that room. And then I know what I'm hearing. And that's just a miracle.
Hey, so since we were asking or looking down the questions, and I want to go back to the 57, someone up top said, do you prefer a modded 57 or a stock 57?
Oh, stock. I
Stock
don't know. I haven't tried a modded. Maybe they're great, but there's nothing wrong with a stock one, Yeah.
Let's see if we can.
Stedman. Yeah, I haven't talked to Stedman. Yeah.
And then someone mentioned Sontronics, Sontronics.
The Sontronics is really good stuff. They make a ribbon that's amazing. The Sontronics, I have none, but I love them. I've used them when I work at Castle Rohrsdorf. They have several, and I really love them. Yeah.
Another one that came up was Royer. Someone was asking about Royer ribbon mics.
Yeah. What a great design that is. And it's based off of the B&O ribbons from when was it, the 60s?
We love David Royer too.
Yeah, we love David Royer. He's a great guy. And if you're going to get a modern ribbon, that is a company that you can trust. That's a great company. The other great modern ribbons, can I just grab them right out of the case? You know what? The case is all... It's all blocked. I can't get it. But the Sandhills, modern ribbons are also fantastic recording mics. What else?
Okay. Let's see. What mics and recording techniques did you use to mic Prince and the acoustic guitar?
Oh,
that guy.
Yeah. Acoustic guitar is a funny thing because I'll typically not fuss over recording an acoustic. I don't need a stereo acoustic guitar. I just want the rhythm. Typically, and that's what the Prince track was. I think it was Walk Not Walk is the name of the song off of Diamonds and Pearls. And there's a very rhythmic, scrapey sounding acoustic on it. And that was just me putting a 57, honestly, a 57 on the acoustic and saying, here it is. The thing about working with Prince is you don't want to take too much time setting up. You're not going to listen to mics to make sure it sounds good. You just throw something up you can depend on and then go.
Yeah,
and
you're in the moment.
It's all about the performance because if you don't catch it, that's with any of the big guys, if you don't capture the performance on that first take, you probably ain't going to get a second take, and they're going to just find someone else to do your job. Yeah. So yeah, it was whatever. And because it was Larrabee, they probably didn't even have a 57. So it was probably my 57 that I brought into the session because Larrabee just wasn't into the lowly 57s in their
No.
mic locker.
um,
Anyway.
So someone else asked, have you ever crossed paths with Sandy Stone? She told me she made microphones out of eggshells and PVC pipe for Olivia in the 70s.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know this whole thing, and I need to learn. Someone, whoever you are, please send me information about this Sandy Stone.
There you go, Jane. Please tell her.
Oh boy,
let's
Vic's
see.
awake. Oh God, she's growling. All right. What else we got?
Well, it looks like we've answered it quite, because as we were going, I was sort of not
wasn't
asking
that
the
great?
question with.
Did
I'm
we
sorry?
do a good job with our mic presentation?
Oh, you did a fantastic job. We really loved having just the view of, a look inside. And so the museum is ever growing, as we witnessed yesterday with the unboxing from.
Oh, you were so lucky to be online. We were together online when that box arrived, and we opened it up and pulled out everything one at a time. It's so much fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So see, having a museum can be fun.
Yeah. Where do you envision it in the next few years?
Oh, what do you think?
What do you think is going to happen with this museum?
Oh, hi. I think that we are going to really get our arms around it, and I can't exaggerate the amount of work it was just getting the museum packed up, getting it here, and then unpacking it and understanding what it is. And I've been on this 2 years so far, and just starting to really crack into it. So I think coming up is we'll be able to start promoting the museum for serious. And then that kind of ties in with us finishing the first book about all these microphones. Yeah. And then we'll promote it. And then the goal is to really just educate people and then also preserve the historical legacy. And so we're very serious about continuing to add to the museum, documenting it, and make that information accessible and easy to understand.
Yeah, it's a database that we're building of all of it. I mean, it's too big to put into one single volume book. So we're collecting it online and a huge database. And then as we finish that database, then we'll figure out, well, how are we going to split this up and how are we going to get it to the people that are interested in this information? Yeah. So it's a project. It's actually a lifetime project.
Yeah, it's lifetime work.
We've decided to take this on as our legacy project.
Yeah, again, this wasn't about buying a bunch of stuff and then flipping it for more money. It was, how do we preserve this historical legacy of Bob Paquette, and not only preserve it, but add on to it and then ensure that it'll continue forward.
Yes, the insurance of continuing forward is important. And we don't have any kids. And so we're going to really concentrate on finding a way to carry this forward for a wide audience forever.
Forever if possible.
Hopefully.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. I think we've got a couple other questions, but I guess, we could probably say that this was a masterclass of all masterclasses. We really thank you so much for hosting and sharing your collection. I do have to ask this one question because someone asked about a Finnish company's microphone, Kentola, a custom-made Kentola microphone from the
Don't know anything about that.
So that's another
Finnish
good
company.
one.
Yeah. If it's Finnish, I'm interested.
Okay.
Yeah, we love Finland.
And also, if it's a microphone, I'm interested.
Yeah,
of course.
So Finnish microphone. That's
Finnish
microphone. That's a twofer right now.
Yeah, it is.
Even. Well, thank you both so much for being a part of our masterclass series. We really thank you for being a part.
Thank you very much. Well, I hope we can do this again.
Yeah,
I hope so too. Definitely. When you get the next 60 kilos of microphones that show up, even if we don't go live, I just want to be there for the box opening.
I will call him.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, fantastic. Thanks again.
You guys are great, and you really got your act together with the learning lab. It's awesome.
Awesome. Hear that, folks? All right. Thanks again, and stay safe. And we look forward to catching up with you the next time.
All righty. Bye.
Take care. Bye.